What's up, team? Good evening. Welcome aboard to our weekly recap. It's Monday, May 26, 2025. Happy Memorial Day to all who celebrate the fall of our American soldiers throughout the past, since the existence of the Republic. Well, glad to be with you. The markets are closed today. We are going to reopen on futures in about 15 minutes or so, maybe 14 minutes. But futures were open on Sunday, and you could see here the Dow up 457 points, NASDAQ up 308, S&P up 1.27%, the Russell up 1.22%, with gold down about 0.70%. And what changed from Friday to Sunday was that there is now officially a pause in that European Union tariff hike of 50%. So that is going to be paused until, if I can go ahead and bring this up on the news network. Again, this came out on Sunday. If I can find this headline on our server. Bear with me a second. There it is. See here, yesterday at 6:21 p.m., Trump, I agreed to extend EU 50% tariff deadline to July 9th. CNBC confirms this. This was a headline through Reuters initially. So that's why we got our boost. This is how we opened up 129 points. You can see that we're way above that. So that's a good start. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and do kind of a technical analysis and see what we're expecting moving forward. If you are here to look for recap of the week, this is our options recap for the week in article format with our futures recap for the week. And the streak did end, unfortunately, with NVIDIA and Apple. More details here. And S&P takes care of business. But gold, choppy. So it's all there. Feel free to take a look at that at your leisure. www.gar.capital is the website. Click on articles and you'll be there. All right, let's take a look at the daily. You can see the upward wedge here. And we zoom in a little bit here on S&P 500 futures, again on the daily. We can start drawing a couple lines, kind of give us some expectations of what we're getting moving forward. And again, I know I have tons of lines, but possibly maybe a bull flag instead of a wedge breakdown as we bounced above the 200-day, 100-day, and 20-day moving averages. Really great signs, really great signs. Only concern I have here, guys, we have a gap to fill here at 57.17. We got near it on Friday, but again, never filled. So that's going to be something we'll be watching extremely closely. That is about 100 and some odd points away from this gap fill now, since that Sunday S&P cash open, or it's not cash open, excuse me, S&P futures open. We might be able to see if we get our opening prices here. I don't expect much of a change, to be quite honest. But if this is not a bull flag, you can see your flag pole and your flag, then this will be a breakdown to this level here. But let's go ahead and use the 100-day moving average as kind of our support here. If we're below 5,800, we can start talking about shorting to that gap fill. For now, let's use the 200-day as support, 5807, as our pivot. So you can see that we bounced right off it on Friday, and now we're holding above it with this headline. What is the level we're looking for to break? 5920 wakes me up for a long. 5900 is my first alert. So in order to be a little more on the cautious side, I'm going to wait for 5920 to break, and we're going to go ahead and target, you guessed it, 6,000. If you knock on the door enough, guys, you're going to break. 6,000 is coming. It looks like it's going to be a very nice summer, maybe a possible stock rally as we move forward. But let's take a look at gold next. Pardon all of the lines here, but what I can do is make life easy and just do micros. All right, let's take away these fibs. Move this drawing here. Okay, so we bounced right off the 20-day, but the real bounce was right here off the 50-day moving average. So I am holding GLD puts for June, unfortunately, but seeing that gold is pulling back is a nice sign, as it is rejecting this trend line here kind of cleanly. And we did fill a very key gap down here. So we got that gap down. I fully expect us to break below 3,300. 3,300 is what I'm really looking for in order to short. If anything, maybe 33.20 gives us a shot to get 20 points up until that gap, that 20-day moving average at 32.94. But key level here of me for a pivot would be 32.52, kind of your midpoint between the 20 and the 50. Start getting there, we may see a drop continuously, even lower. And the reason I say that is because as we expand this, again, it's just an expansion of this, I guess you can call it megaphone formation if it makes you happy. But for the most part, 3,200 is kind of be that key level that once it pops, then we start talking about sub 3,000 gold. By that point, equity should be rallying above 6,000 if the inverse correlation still stands. For now, I think gold is a short. I still believe that even with this little bounce that we've had in the gap fill, that we're still going to reject this trend line and continue lower. Just didn't happen this past week, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and take a look here at what's coming up this week. All right, let's take a look at some earnings. The big one on Wednesday, NVIDIA. We got Salesforce as well. And let's take a look at Best Buy and Costco. All right, Dick's Sporting Goods, I think that's going to be, I guess, not the real important news piece from their earnings. They made an offering for Foot Locker, which oddly enough reports on Thursday before the open. So let's just skip them and let's kind of just go over NVIDIA. Then I'll make my call on what I think is going to happen with that stock, or at least the reaction. We'll do Salesforce.com as well. And we'll do Best Buy, which is BBY. And we'll have Costco. All right, we'll do those four. Real quick, economic data for the week. Again, nothing really standing out except for maybe Monday's meeting minutes and the GDP on Thursday. The core PCE, I mean, guys, the CPI has been pretty solid, pretty tame. So inflation is going down, which is a good sign. The idea was that possibly tariffs were going to increase inflation, but for now, the readings are pretty tame. So I guess the core PCE may go ahead and confirm that. Maybe, just maybe, fingers crossed, we get a June cut. But I think the market's pricing in a July cut for now. But let's see what the PCE number does on Friday. NVIDIA is pretty much the most important thing on the board this week. Let's be real. NVIDIA earnings is going to be very key. They're a growth driver. They're a big part of ETFs. That's kind of the big price. So let's go ahead and chart it together. NVIDIA. And NVIDIA, I tried to trade it this week. We had a nice push, and then we had a pullback in the middle of the week. So a little more details on that article that I was talking about on the website. But for now, again, a breakout of this trend line. To me, fair value for NVIDIA is right around that 120 level. I think if you get that price there, there's a lot of value there based on their future growth expectations, PE multiples, all that fundamental stuff. The fun, nerdy stuff, right? For now, what I'm seeing is a possible bull flag. The only concern is you have two gaps to fill, right around the 120s and right around the 125 level. Those can absolutely happen. Maybe guidance is weak. Who knows? That is definitely the risk. What I believe will happen is that we have a bull flag setting up and we're going to get to 140 because there's also a gap there to fill at 141.67. As long as we stay above 120, and again, kind of that trend line breakout that we got. Yes, a couple of gaps to fill in the daily, but again, above major moving average, the 50, the 20, the 100, and the 200. I think NVIDIA goes higher. My price target would be right at 140 to 141. I say bullish on the stock with earnings to come. So I'm going to go bullish. I'm going to write this down. So when we do the next video, when Carlos was right or Carlos was wrong, we have something to track. So 140 to 141 is the level. Would I trade calls on that? Not for same week. They're going to be very expensive. I would wait for after earnings or play semiconductors, SMH, which is also a bull flag. And that would be the target of 260. 250 would confirm. 260 would be the target. That is also part of the watch list this week. This is for our paid option members. I wrote this up earlier this morning. Go to Watches and Charts, and you can see all of our beautiful watch lists. And of course, the funnies. Please just go back to my entry. I don't even want profits anymore. Like I said, you aren't a trader if you haven't whispered this to yourself. Always fun here at GAR Capital. Anyways, let's go ahead and go to Salesforce.com. think we had Snowflake last week and they pushed higher. I may be wrong. Let me see. Was it Snowflake that had earnings? Yep, correct. And they pushed higher. Not yet to fill the gap at 211, but a break of 205. I like Snowflake to 211. Just keep an eye for any kind of unusual volume. Same industry. This is cloud. Break out of this downtrend. See this nice kind of clean channel breakout, but again, a retest of this very key median level. Let's see the weekly, see how that lines up. Makes a lot of sense. So a retest of 268 makes a lot of sense. The idea here is what can we do? What's the edge here? I don't see there's any, to be quite honest. I think you skip CRM. Again, too binary of a trade. This is a coin flip. That means probably premiums are going to get chopped. So if I don't see anything special about buying these options, I don't think anyone else will. So unless there's some inside information that I don't know about, I don't think calls or puts either way are have any edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and put neutral. If you remember the last time a stock I said about neutral for at least the earnings was Shopify. How did they do? Did they pop? Yeah, they did. They broke out of 100 and then kind of round tripped. So setting up an inverse head and shoulders though on Shop. Let's see if it holds 100. 100 is your level on Shopify, actually, if you're trying to trade it anyways. Best Buy is the next one. Inverse head and shoulders, possibly. I think a breakout is 76.42, which is that 100. Yeah, I'd go for this gap fill here at 86. So, yeah, I'd say bullish on Best Buy if it breaks 76. 76.50. Above 76.50, target 85. Let's see if there's any volume on that one too. And then Costco. Trendline broken. Yep. Yeah, you got to break above 1035. Just about. 1035, I would target 1100. But we are setting up here a little bit of testing of a trend line to break down. Okay. Pretty binary too. You're above the 20. I would use 1000 as support. But if that breaks down, it's 945 to 900. And that might be a double bottom setup. But if a break of 1035, 1100, 1075 to 1100. Yeah, pretty neutral here to be quite honest. Because I can see it anyway going. So I'm going to give it a neutral rating here. The only thing to me that looks bullish is really Nvidia. That would probably be the best one on the board. Best Buy again if it breaks 76.5, but Salesforce.com and Costco, I'm going to go neutral there because it can go anyway. So that's at least where we're looking. All right, so it's almost 6, about a minute away. How about we just go ahead and see how the opening is, and then we'll kind of chart S&P and gold rather quickly. While we wait, my schedule is filling up for the one-on-one teaching for Masterclass. So my team has been telling me to remind everybody that my schedule does get filled up. If not, then I won't be able to speak as much on the server as I try to. So again, if you have classes with me, make sure to schedule them. And if you don't need them, that's fine. But to those who are looking to sign up for one-on-one sessions, get with Kevin on our server. I put it under the announcements tabs. Again, just for the fact that I am soon going to have to put a wait list here. So again, it's all on here, all the details on Masterclass. And it's also on the website, www.gar.capital. Go click on Masterclass. There it is. Okay, we're about 15 seconds away from the opening bell. About 9 seconds. This is where the fun begins. And again, I don't expect a big change in terms of the open. I would say pretty consistent with what we got. All right, so 58.88 currently. I moved my alert from 5900 to 5930. I just didn't know if it was going to get triggered. So let's go ahead and put it at 59 and a quarter or 59.25. And the reason I'm saying that is because that is kind of the top end of that. I can go ahead and adjust it. So let's go ahead and activate it. And you can see now I pretty much got it in terms of the peak here and here. So it's not exactly a perfect trend line. So let's go ahead and remove it. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Let's remove that drawing. So let's draw one more time. Okay, you can see my cursor We're going to go ahead and kind of meet all of these levels, 1, 2, and 3. So 59.87. See what that 200 MA is on the 1 hour? Let's do 59.06, okay? 59.06 breaks, hey, kind of wakes us up to see if we can do anything. If anything here, you're probably going to consolidate until right around 8 p.m. That's when Tokyo's open. Let's take a look at gold rather quickly. Yeah, you can see it's kind of holding up this trend line. So does that really make a difference in terms of the expectations for equities, S&P? Not really. I still believe that gold's going to turn over, and if it does, I want to short it. If we were to go higher in terms of the price of gold, we're looking right around 33.63, and if that's the case, so be it. I'll get out of my GLD puts, and I'll target 3,400. But for now, I still think this is going to roll over this week. I think S&P is going to move higher as well. Let's take a look at the S&P one more time. And again, the reason I say that is that we are setting up a bull flag. Again, this is the expectation that we get above 59.20 or so. If 59.20 breaks, we'll get to 6,000, and that's where the rubber meets the road. If we break 6,000, we're going to hit all-time highs probably as soon as the Fed cuts in July. That would probably mean everything is going absolutely spectacular. Last week was a lot of profit taking. We saw the VIX spike above 20. Right now, we're seeing at least good news flow being accepted by the market with futures pushing higher. Good things start to come. Let's see what we get. Let's see if these gains hold. For now, they are. We'll be vigilant throughout the Tokyo session and see how it goes. It is a short week, so let's not push the risk if we don't need to. Okay, team? We'll leave it there. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for joining me for our weekly recap, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers all.